I'm in second place and you passed me. What place are you in?
First.
First place?
Yes.
I'm in second place and you passed me. Well, how would you be in first place?
Because I passed you. I passed you, so I'm in first.
I'm in second place, though.
Congratulations. Now I'm in first because I passed you. I passed you. Are we running? Are we driving? It doesn't matter. I passed you. I'm in first.
Make sure I got okay. So y'all can hear me. Forgive that. Okay, so I'm doing some research, right? Matter of fact, before we even get started, let me remind everybody: make sure you guys like the video on the way in, just like Maya told y'all. She got 0 fucks given, but yeah, like the video on the way in. Shout out to Stacy in the chat. Trinity Time Travels always first. Django off the chain in Miami. Um, Carly, appreciate you. This is something that is kind of like a trending topic, but I even had to change the title because we actually got some breaking news. And before we get started, please, y'all make sure y'all share the stream, support the stream through Cash App. That's available. Super Chat's available too. Super Thanks will be available if you're catching the replay. We are simulcasting on both the home of the official YT Purge as well as Auntie's The Boiler Room. Now, everybody should know by now about the shooting that took place in Minneapolis, right? ICE blasted a chick, and they're saying that it was in self-defense. So we definitely going to review that. We're going to review some of the government's comments, but we actually got some breaking news to bring y'all. If y'all didn't know, 2 people have also been shot by ICE in Portland. Did y'all know that? If y'all didn't know, you're about to know. Yeah, we definitely about to talk about that. Matter of fact, we just gonna bring that shit up. Because, yeah, 2 people have been shot in Portland by ICE. So we're going to check that out together. It was earlier this afternoon. 2 people were shot by ICE in Portland as well. Okay? So that's 3 people as of recently that have been shot by ICE. Deep shit. So, before we get into the vice president's comments, about that, as well as the mayor over in Minneapolis, we're gonna go to Portland. All right. Y'all see that? 2 people were shot and injured by federal agents. Now, I'm assuming they're still alive. They're still alive, so they wasn't shot all the way dead or deleted. But yeah, let's go.
They're being treated at, and we don't know their condition at this time. We're following that closely. We were also told earlier this afternoon that Legacy Health was under a lockdown situation. But to say more from what Mayor Wilson told us earlier, quote, "We cannot sit by while constitutional protections erode and bloodshed mounts. Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents, and the full force threatened by the administration has deadly consequences."
And the FBI says they're the lead on both of these investigations at both locations. One thing we don't know yet is what they were doing at the time that this shooting happened, whether they were trying to apprehend some individuals or exactly the circumstances surrounding the shootings this afternoon.
Let's also talk about, we heard from Chief Bob Day a little while ago as well, who released a statement that said, quote, "We are still in the early stages of this incident. We understand the heightened emotion and tension many are feeling in the wake of the shooting in Minneapolis, but I am asking the community to remain calm as we work to learn more." That was a quote from Chief Day.
Right. And tensions are high already before this shooting today, after the shooting in Minnesota of 37-year-old Renee Good, a woman who was in a vehicle on the street. ICE agents or federal agents approached her as she tried to drive off. Different accounts. So you've seen the video. There were officers around. She was shot and killed there in Minnesota, and a lot of unrest after that situation.
Now, one thing is for certain, right? Usually that's what's going to happen when you got all of these protests that have led to shootings. They're probably going to lead to more. All right, people are outraged, or I don't know if the outrage is selective. We're going to break this down and kind of talk about it. I personally think that the whole thing is just, I mean, because it's loss of life, I don't want to just call it stupid, but it's not very smart to be a martyr for some shit that probably doesn't concern you in the first place. Yeah, that's my point with it. I would believe that people should just let these folks do their damn job. The Constitution of the United States does allow for peaceful protest, but if you stand in the way of these folks doing their job, and if you use your vehicle as a weapon, or it is perceived to be a weapon, and people might just defend themselves with deadly force. Now, even if in situations like this, even if these motherfuckers are dead wrong, you still got lost a life. Like that, there is no backspace button when somebody gets blasted in the head. Like that's it. It's over. It's over. So even though there can end up being a trial by jury, people can be placed on administrative leave, lose their pension. Even if there are some laws and policies that end up changed, you can't bring these lives back. So people risking their lives over a government agency doing their job, I just don't think that's smart. I don't like seeing it. And I would have to agree with what mine just said. Hey, this shit right here is horrible. Horrible.
Yesterday and into today, and now we have a situation here in Portland as well.
Yeah, Portland protesting. We've of course heard from people in Portland. I do want to give a statement that we just received from two East Portland city councilors. Councilor Avalos and Dunphy responded to this shooting. This is just into our newsroom, saying, quote, "Today ICE shot two of our East Portland neighbors, just one day after an ICE agent shot and killed a Minneapolis mother. We are still waiting for more information at this time, but this is part of a pattern of violence that we have seen too many times across our country." So we do know now, confirmed, according to Portland City Councilors, that these were two East Portlanders who were shot by federal agents just after 2 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, and a similar statement coming in from Maxine Dexter, Congresswoman here from Oregon's 3rd Congressional District, saying, quote, "Just one day after the horrific murder in Minneapolis, I received reports that two people in my district were shot by federal immigration officials this afternoon in East Portland. Both individuals are alive, but we do not know the extent of their injuries. ICE has done nothing but inject terror, chaos, and cruelty into our communities. Trump's immigration machine is using violence to control our communities straight out of the authoritarian playbook." And she goes on from there.
We're hearing statements from people across Portland, across Oregon, and they will continue to come in. We will update you as we learn more from them. But first, we want to get back out to Kyle Aboshi. He's joining us from Legacy Health. Kyle, what are you learning there now?
Well, we're standing just outside of Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, and there is a heavy police presence. Important to note, we don't know the condition of those two people who were shot and injured. We do believe they're being treated here at Legacy Emmanuel. Behind me, you can see the emergency entrance. This is where ambulances typically come with trauma patients to bring them in for treatment. Since we've been here, which has been a relatively short period of time, we have not seen any ambulances coming in with lights and siren. We have seen a heavy police presence, though. There are police cars around the area on the street as well, police vehicles, Washington County Sheriff's Office, Portland Police, as well as Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. And it appears, earlier we noticed what it looked like some plainclothes officers standing by the front entrance of that emergency room entrance, along with security for Legacy as well. But we have not been getting any information, and in all likelihood, I would be surprised if we got any information directly from the hospital, simply because of federal patient privacy laws. But we're being asked to stay off property, which is normal procedure, monitoring the situation to see if there is any additional information coming from police, medics, or anybody else from the community. We'll continue to stay here.
Kyle, any word if Legacy is still on lockdown? We heard that earlier this afternoon.
You know, I don't know that and cannot answer that, honestly. In looking around here, it's relatively quiet, but having stood on this sidewalk many times before in news coverage, that's not unusual for it to be relatively quiet outside. So I'll work to confirm that and get additional information for you.
Okay, Thank you so much, Kyla Bushey, reporting from Legacy Health this afternoon.
Yep. All right, we've got a statement from Jeff Merkley, I believe, that we can bring up for you as well. The statement's coming in on this. We'll put it up on the screen. I'd be happy to read it for you. That is the FBI statement. We can go with that one first. FBI Portland is investigating an agent-involved shooting that happened at approximately 2:15. Here is the Senator Jeff Merkley post that just came out on X. He says, huge concern about a reported shooting of 2 individuals by federal agents outside Portland Adventist Hospital. I share any updates as I learn more. Please keep protests of Portland's ICE CBP peaceful as Trump wants to generate riots. Don't take the bait.
Let's get back out to our Alma McCarty. She's joining us from 146th and East Burnside. Alma, any updates there on scene for us?
Yeah, I can tell you, Stephanie and Tim, that some of the members of Portra contra las Deportaciones are out here. They were some of the folks that held a rally earlier this week, actually just last night, that we attended. They were really speaking out against what had happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, involving Renee Nicole Good, and they are out here tonight. As well with some of the neighbors. I'm going to step out of the way. We just got a different kind of in terms of an update, don't have much for you at this time. It is obviously a very, very active scene. More media personnel appear to be showing up. And this, again, is the spot where Portland police responded to after responding to Adventist Health in terms of this is where the male and woman, or the male and female were found. Again, we do not know their condition at this time. Northeast 146th Avenue at this time. Tim, Stephanie, back to you.
All right, Alma McCarty, thanks very much for that report from the Hazelwood neighborhood. I'm not sure what's coming up next.
Let's give you a recap if you're just joining us. Troubling news today, a day after a woman was shot and killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Today in Portland, we have learned that 2 federal agents have shot 2 people here in Portland just after 2 o'clock, around 2:15 this afternoon.
All right, so you got even more shootings and shit like that. Now, shout out to Taz. I was just over on Taz's on the panel, and he broke down the footage. I'm about to bring up some of the footage right now, and this is graphic, so viewer discretion is extremely advised, right? You're about to see somebody get blasted real quick. It's going to be quick, though. It's going to be quick. Okay?
No!
All right.
No! As cops, we're responsible for every single round that leaves our weapon.
So, y'all are seeing that. You see the blast. You know? Now, I'm going to rewind so y'all can pretty much see this. Now, it's sad that there's loss of life. This is just my opinion on it. I'm going to drop the link. Anybody wants to come up, feel free to come up and do so. I see a lot of folks that are kind of split, with this. Some folks are saying, hey, the cops should have moved out the way. The agent should have moved out the way and shit like that. I see a 2-ton vehicle being used as a weapon right here. So, I mean, it looks like they defending themselves. That's just what I see right here. So, this is what happens when you stand in the way of armed agents doing their job. Like, you literally stand in the way, or start to use your vehicle and put it in the way. I think civilians just need to stay out of the way of these people doing their job. If you want to go ahead and protest this, it's a land of opportunity. You think everybody has a right to be here. Shout out to Big Brenda Clark, who just hit the building. Shout out to Big Brenda. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do your peaceful protest and all of that, you have a right to do that. But as soon as you do things of this nature, things can really get out of hand. So this woman got blasted in the head. She was a mother of 3. And now she's no longer with us. Damn shame. It's a shame that things like this gotta result in loss of life. You know, but whew, it's deep. Now, I even broke it down right there. Like hey, the white lights mean reverse. The car is no longer in reverse, and what y'all are seeing right there, now the car is in drive. There's an ICE agent on the driver's side with his hand in the window, and another ICE agent in front that is armed. He has not drawn his weapon yet. He's about to draw his weapon once that vehicle starts to come at him. See, boom, you see the wheels spin. That's when he pulls out. All right, spin the block on that. They walking up. Slow this down a little bit. What's up, Brownie? All right. So I break down a lot of body camera footage here. This is when cops get dragged, like literally dragged by vehicles. Okay. As soon as, yeah, she was a mother of 3. She was also in an alternative lifestyle relationship. This is the welcome to these niggas. Yeah, this is these niggas Thursday, because we also gonna talk about that, because you got a lot of folks that are in this space that seem to be not necessarily defending the actions of this person, but using this as an excuse to kind of say that, you know, ICE is wrong. And it's a shame that they want to turn this, that these niggas want to turn this into some kind of like Democrat, Republican, blue versus red shit. But that's what they're going to do. I think it's extremely bang bang, like it's real quick. It's pretty tough to determine like the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do in that moment. But right here, I mean, the vehicle is a weapon. So he pulls out, he pops. Bomb, 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 bomb. All right. Now the vehicle's out of control. So, yeah. No, you're here for the beginning of it. We pretty much started. I also wanted to talk about how they got some breaking news. What up, Amazingly Beautiful? What's going on? Yeah, right now there were also, earlier today, there were 2 people that were shot in Portland by ICE. So I was also talking about that too. Not even a day apart, you know, from the shooting yesterday. You know, by ICE. So yeah, this is probably gonna lead to more shit. Now that and this is just kind of like the world that we live in now, where if somebody's name goes viral for getting shot by ICE, now all types of people are ready to jump in the way of live ammunition and shit just to protest and go viral themselves. It's crazy. All right. So I'm not going to show the extremely graphic footage. That's really as graphic as we're going to get with it. But yeah. Yeah. And KOK, I can agree with you there. And I don't even think just black folks should sit this shit out. I think American citizens should just sit this shit out. That's my take on it. And I'm gonna talk about the the governor of Minnesota as well as the mayor of Minnesota. I'm gonna bring up his comments in a moment too, because he's like, remember him? They made him do a walk of shame not too long ago. This was a few years ago when they wanted to defund the police, you know, in Minneapolis, and he refused to defund the police, and they just made that motherfucker take a walk of shame and pretty much, you know, made him it just made him look fucking stupid, you know, out there. But yeah, he came up. Matter of fact, let me bring up what he had to say. This is the mayor of Minneapolis.
To get justice and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know,
what's up, Miss
is that
Paulette?
a
37-year-old
woman is dead, and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city.
Leone, what's up?
What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people.
It's amazing. And this is my take on it. Anybody can feel free to come up here and disagree with me. I'm going to go back to KOK's comment, right? When he said, yeah, black folks should just sit this one out. Yeah, I believe so. Just sit this shit out. I think American citizens as a whole should just sit this shit out. It's not your issue. This is a nation of laws. And if these people are breaking the laws, you let the judicial system handle that. Okay? But to go to what the mayor of I want to say the mayor of Detroit. Shout out to the mayor of Detroit. Now, the mayor of Minneapolis, right? What he wants to say right here is that families are being ripped apart. What the fuck did you have to say when all these damn crime bills were passed and police forces were militarized in urban communities just like the one that you're the fucking mayor of? And people were, black folks primarily, were the victims of mass incarceration. You didn't say shit about families being ripped apart then. But now all of a sudden, you're holding press conferences because families are being ripped apart by ICE. Isn't that some shit? Ain't that about a bitch? Ain't that about a bitch? I didn't see any mayoral press conferences and shit. Because, look, for the most part, most of us have seen this shit for years in the communities that we live in. Straight militarized police forces. All right. Police got fucking semi-automatic weapons. All right, straight task force up. Like they look like they are soldiers over in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all over, like real shit. Right in your local neighborhoods. It's been like that for a long time. It ain't just SWAT. Hell no. These are your local sheriffs. And now all of a sudden, we're supposed to have some outrage because they're actually rounding up criminals that legitimately ain't even supposed to be here. Like we're supposed to be outraged by this shit. But we ain't supposed to be outraged by like that shit that Biggie said, hey man, I was just outside of my house trying to make some money to feed my damn daughter, and you had no problem ripping those fucking families apart. Now I get it. We're a nation of laws. Them people were breaking the law too. You had laws in place, so you took them to jail. Cool. I don't see what the problem is with taking these folks to jail. Or just moving them. Just removing them. No? That's why I say, man, let these people do their jobs. No? Now, what I'm seeing personally, I see a lot of folks. Appreciate that. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Big Brenda. Shout out to Big Brenda Clark with the shit with the $5 super chat. Y'all follow her lead, and the Cash App's also available too. We would definitely appreciate that. We need it. We need it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Big Brenda Clark with the shit. And if you're at the official home of the official YT Purge, make sure you use that Big Brenda Clark emoji, custom emojis for everybody coming soon. We also got them at the Boiler Room too. Shout out to Stacy. She's been in the chat. Moderators are dropping those links. So we do have memberships available on both channels. Okay, we appreciate that. But this is what bugs me out. Nobody had a problem with them damn crime bills, you know, that we're giving people, for the most part, lifetime sentences. Lifetime sentences. They were okay. Like they were like overfunding police forces, militarizing police forces in urban communities. Folks were being profiled. Police brutality has been documented against actual citizens, the melanated type. I didn't see the mayors doing these press conferences then, but you see it now. I mean, the nerve, the fucking nerve. Like, and one thing that I would really like to just hear, like, if you're truly outraged by this shit, why don't they come up and just say, look, you know what? We should have been doing press conferences like this, man. And it ain't even just ICE, man. The cops been out of hand for a long fucking time. I didn't hear none of that shit. I didn't see no press conferences when Eric Garner was getting choked the fuck out by some militarized cops. All right, when Michael Brown was shot dead. Or wasn't it in Minneapolis? Where old boy was a legal gun owner. Told him, yo, man, I got my pistol. You know what I'm saying? They asked, hey, any guns in the car? He's like, I got my pistol, man. I'll show it to you, whatever. And they just blasted that motherfucker with his girlfriend right in the driver's seat. Just blasted his ass right in the passenger seat. Pow, 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 pow. You know? When Freddie Gray got put in the back of the paddy wagon, keep in mind, I'm going right off the top of my head. All right? Got put in the back of the extradition van and didn't even make it to the fucking jail. Didn't even show up to the jail alive. But they got a lot of outrage now. Because this chick right here tried to run over a fucking ICE agent and literally take the arm off of another one. And got blasted like 2 or 3 times in the fucking head. Tried to use a 2-ton vehicle as a weapon. That's just my opinion on it. Somebody even tried to tell me on Taz's panel that and it wasn't Taz himself. He's pretty much sharing the same sentiments that I am when it comes to this, because this looked like a clear-cut case of self-defense. Like, look, especially as black folks, but most people understand the protocol anyway. Because people are like, oh, well, the protocol is you got to try to get away out of the way, and you're not supposed to chase them or nothing. Bullshit. That shit is different in different areas as far as whether or not you're going to chase people that flee. And then it depends on whether or not they on motorcycles and shit like that. And yeah, all that shit is different. It depends on where the hell you are. But one thing that we do know, no matter where you are, those cops, first and foremost, have a duty to protect themselves and their fellow officers. That's what the fuck they do. They're going to protect themselves and they're going to protect their fellow officers first. So y'all get a look at this right here. There's an ICE agent literally in front of the vehicle, in front of the hood, and there's another one with his arm in the car. Look at this. You driving off while there's an arm in the car. That man could lose his arm, and there's another one. He doesn't draw his weapon until the vehicle goes into drive and then starts moving, goes in motion and is in drive. So look, I'm not a cop, I'm not a prosecutor, I'm not a defense attorney. But if there's ever a time to defend yourself against someone using a 2-ton vehicle as a weapon, this looks like it. And people are outraged by this. The fucking nerve. Let's listen to what the mayor has to say, though.
So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense.
No, they're not spinning it as an action of self-defense. Motherfucker, they saying that's what the fuck it is. Like I say, the whip is in reverse. I don't see any guns drawn. Now, keep in mind, the reverse lights just went off. The whip is no longer in reverse. It is in drive. All right, you even see wheels spinning because they kind of hydroplaning, you know what I'm saying? It's a little wet, a little icy outside, all of that shit. Okay? Then, hey, the weapon gets drawn. Pow, pow, pow. Somebody's driving dead stick. Hey, man, it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, it's fucked up that people losing their lives over this shit, man. It is. It's bad. Now listen to the language that this dude uses. You think that's bullshit?
Really killing people. So,
what's up, Sugar Plum?
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right.
I'm sorry, Sugar Plum. I'm actually looking at it. I mean, it looks like self-defense to me. And if anybody disagrees, it's okay. You have a right to disagree. I'm not an attorney or anything, but I mean, it looks like they're gonna try to either arrest the woman or question her or something over obstructing because she's in the street, obviously not obeying traffic laws or anything. But ICE is not supposed to be enforcing traffic laws, understandable. But hey, you move in with the agent's arm, you know, on your car. You could literally take the agent's arm off. Right here, that's one thing. Now there's another agent that jumps in front of your car to obstruct your path going forward. Boom. Hey, she takes the car out of reverse. Matter of fact, let me go back. All right. Boom. Car's out of reverse. Now keep in mind, you see this agent's arm is in the car or on the car. You could take this agent's arm off, but you still just driving. Okay? I know if I do that shit, there's a chance they're gonna pull out and pop me. Like, I know that. I know that. So I wouldn't do that. I don't give a fuck if it's an ICE agent, a sheriff, whatever. I'm not doing that shit, because yo, if the cop put his arm on the car, that shit, hey, we know the protocol. We taught this shit before we even get driver's licenses, man. Hey, you walk up to the damn vehicle, man. I got my arms on the steering wheel. What seems to be the problem, officer? Oh, no problem. License, registration. I got you. I'm not gonna make any sudden movements. Oh, you need that? Okay, it's in the glove compartment. I'm gonna go reach in and get it. Do I have your permission to do so, officer? Okay? One thing I am not going to do is just yank this motherfucker into reverse or drive and hit a pedal. Under no circumstances, because I might get blasted. And then bam, 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 bam. Hey, just like you see, hey, we go from reverse to drive relatively fast. You know? No, I'm just saying. You see that? Okay. One cop, you could take this one on the driver's side. You could literally take his arm off. Okay. I'm not defending ICE agents or whatever, because I'm pretty sure there's some verbiage here, and all we got is video. So we don't know. All we heard here is pop, 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 pop. So I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they're giving some instructions right there or whatever, you know, whatever they are. But at the same time, I'm like, right now, I see a vehicle being used as a weapon. Okay? Now, there's another cop, ICE agent, that's in front of the vehicle. He's the one that actually fires. Okay? Keep in mind, you just saw, pay attention to the back lights. Those are the reverse lights. There is no gun drawn. There's no gun drawn. Reverse lights, reverse lights, reverse lights are off. When the reverse lights are off, that means the car is no longer in reverse, the car is in drive. That's when the toaster gets drawn. That's it. See? And it's moving forward. I mean, it's like self-defense to me. And even if it's a gray area, I understand. Is that full ICE protocol? I'm not really keen on what ICE protocol is or anything like that. I don't know for sure, but that's just kind of what it looks like to me. I think it's enough of a gray area, and I'm going to say the same thing that a bunch of folks said when Michael Brown got blasted, when Eric Garner got choked the fuck out, when Philando Castillo, you know, got blasted. You know, I'm going to say the same thing. I believe those agents were in fear for their lives. You know, that's it. I'm going to say the same damn thing. I believe they were in fear for their lives, and they have an obligation to protect themselves and their fellow officers and agents. So it's a shame that there had to be loss of life here. And was there another way other than deadly force? I would definitely hope so. But I don't know. It happens so fast. You know, happens so fast. You know, they gotta make a quick decision. And unfortunately, I mean, there's a 2-ton vehicle coming at you. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Use a taser? Can't use a taser for that shit. I mean, hey, what's up, Annie? See, I mean, hey, you know, I mean, you can't tase a 2-ton vehicle. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So, you know, this mayor saying what he got to say. Now, I'm actually going to bring up the video in a moment of this same exact mayor having to take the walk of shame because they tried to get him to defund the police. if y'all don't remember. Y'all remember that? Man, I just got him for days. If y'all remember this, Mayor, I got me a little bit of footage. We're going to listen to some more of his comments and I'm going to get to it.
An agent recklessly using
What's up, Candy?
That resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos.
I would respectfully disagree. I would say that people interfering and ICE doing the job that they were brought in there to do was what caused chaos. Allow them to do their job, and you can hold your peaceful protest from a safe observer's distance without interfering with ICE doing their job.
Them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community.
And that I would agree with you, UFO. UFO Kamikaze said the driver that refuses to stop for law enforcement definitely poses a threat to the general public, especially in those weather conditions. Officers can use lethal force to protect the public. I mean, when you're using the vehicle as a weapon,
for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do.
Damn, those are some serious harsh words he's got for ICE, man. Damn. Now, through the magic of television, this is from 5 years ago. See, you be hearing it here first, but then again second. Remember this shit? This is right around pandemic time. Everybody's got masks and shit when they was talking about defund the police. Remember this?
Go home, Jacob, go home. Go home, Jacob, go home. Go home, Jacob, go home.
Remember this shit? Nah, this is the same city, same mayor that they was like, yo, you gonna defund the police? They said they didn't want no cops in that motherfucker. None. All right. Are you going to defund the police? Yes or no. Anything other than a yes or no means no, motherfucker. If not, get the fuck out of here. That's what they told him. The people of Minneapolis told him, get the fuck out of here. And now he's telling ICE to get the fuck out of here. Ain't that about a bitch?
Listen up, y'all. Listen up. Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year.
All right, I'm gonna spin the block on this shit because this is my take on it. Before we play this in its entirety, you heard what he just had to say to ICE during his press conference, and I would say this much: these people. This is from 5 years ago. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 years ago. Same mayor. They're pissed off with the Minneapolis Police Department shooting motherfuckers down. Right? And they said they don't want no more police. So maybe if you would have been doing your job properly, Mayor Fry, maybe ICE wouldn't have to come in there and clean up that city for you, motherfucker. That's just my take on it. This wouldn't have been an issue.
Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. He's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year? Louder, one more time. Loud and clear. Louder. Yeah. I do not support full abolition. All right. Loud. Don't waste our time. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. Go home, Jacob. Go home. 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 Shame! 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 Oh my God! I can't believe it! Shame! 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 Come on here! What a fucking girl! That was pointless! Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah. So the people of Minneapolis have already been fed up with this motherfucker, but yet they reelected his ass anyway. Ain't that about a bitch?
Hospital and to get care as soon as possible. And to the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off.
Now, maybe, hey, those same Minneapolis police officers that responded, maybe you can explain to us why they were so late on the fucking scene. Why weren't they out there making sure that all protests were peaceful protests? And even though people were not breaking any laws with their peaceful protests, they were not able to obstruct any job that ICE agents had to do in your city. Why weren't they out there protecting and serving the same community that they're paid to do so with, motherfucker? Like, I don't get that. And now all of a sudden you have all of this outrage. It looks like the police in Minneapolis are not doing their jobs properly.
Of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
Really? That's the same message that your people had for you not too long ago. Remember this?
That was pointless! Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah.
The fuck did you come for? Listen! Hey y'all, fuck him! Fuck him! Let's bring him back here!
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now you want ICE to get the fuck out of here. When the citizens of Minneapolis not too long ago wanted you to get the fuck out of here. Amazing.
We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Let's show them unity of purpose, of love, and the courage of our conviction. Our conviction, to be clear, is rock solid, and it is for our neighbors, all of our neighbors.
Now, where the fuck was this goddamn speech 5 years ago? Because 5 years ago, all I saw was the walk of shame.
To defund the city's police department. Protesters have been marching this afternoon asking us. I'm Jeff Wagner. More calls from Minneapolis leaders to defund the city's police department. Protesters have been marching this afternoon asking Mayor Jacob Frey to invest in community-led safety measures. And when Mayor Frey showed up, he did not get a warm welcome. David Schumann has been with protesters since they started. He joins us now with the latest. David?
5 years ago.
There was almost 4 hours of peaceful protesting, and it's really just starting to wrap up now here at 4th Street and Hennepin Ave. All afternoon, the message was about not only defunding the police department, but abolishing it. Chants railed against racist cops, and songs were sung about putting money into black communities. Then Mayor Jacob Frey was spotted in the crowd and invited up front.
Go home, Jacob! Go home! Go home, Jacob! Go home!
The protest organizer asked him point blank, yes or no, will you commit to defunding the police? She said his re-election bid next year depends on it, and the crowd agreed. When he gave his answer, there was an eruption of boos and those chants for him to go home. We caught him afterward, and here's what he had to say.
If you're asking whether I'm for massive structural reform to revise a structurally racist system, the answer is yes. If you're asking whether I will do everything possible to push back on the inherent inequities that are literally built into the architecture, the answer is yes. If you're asking whether I'm willing to do everything I possibly can throughout the rest of my term to make sure that the police union, the police contract, the arbitration system, and some of these policies that have resulted in problems specifically for black and brown people, and murder, by the way, over a series of generations, I'm all for that. I'm not for abolishing the entire police department, and I'll be honest about that too.
Throughout the afternoon, the march stopped several.
But now you want to abolish ICE. Ain't that about a bitch?
Times for different reasons. Once it was to have a dance party like they were just having here. Another time it was for a prayer. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she spoke at the very beginning. We're going to recap it all for you tonight at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. We're going to get back into what he had to say.
It's for people who have lived here for 80 years. It is for new immigrants who have made this city a better place. That's the kind of love that we're going to show up with right now. If you're angry, I get it. I am too. If you're feeling that kind of despair, it's understandable. Let's show them who we can be. Let's show up with peace. To march, to protest, to hug one another, to love all the way with peace. Do not give them what they want. Finally, you know, we've got a lot of work that needs to happen right now to make sure that first, of course, the scene was secured as much as possible, that we were able to get the victim, now deceased, to the hospital. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming days. I want to thank our city enterprise for the work that they have done, but more importantly, what they're about to do, because this is going to be heavy and our city has been through a lot. We also know that we're prepared to do right for people. Among them is our chief of police. I'll invite him up.
My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIAN O''HARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. This morning, Minneapolis police officers received a report of federal law enforcement being involved in a deadly force incident, meaning shots had been fired. Minneapolis police officers responded to the scene. We arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where she has since been pronounced deceased. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. We have since turned over the scene both to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which will be conducting an investigation into this use of deadly force. I want to thank the mayor, city council president, other members of the city council, state legislators that were on the scene. This has been a very difficult time for everyone in the city. And this is obviously a very, very tragic situation where a woman has lost her life. That being said, in addition to this tragedy, which unfortunately we did predict, we were seriously concerned about further escalation from the scene. And I want to thank the elected officials that came themselves to help us prevent that from happening, as well as the individuals on that scene that remained peaceful and that abided by law enforcement instructions so that we could preserve that scene and ensure that a full and transparent investigation can take place. That being said, I just echo the mayor's comments that we ask that the community continue to call for peace. We understand people are going to be upset about what happened, and people are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights, but please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction. Thank you.
Now, we're going to get into the Vice President of the United States comments. Those were something. Because, and matter of fact, before I even do that, I want to go back to this right here. If you guys didn't see the incident, I'm going to show it again. Viewer discretion is advised, but I'm not going to show all of the graphic shit where you can actually see bullet holes in the windshield and shit. But yeah. All right. So, again, like, look. I mean, this agent that has a hand on the driver's side door, for whatever reason, while the vehicle is in reverse, she's not stopping the car. Okay? Now it's in drive. Hey, that shit peels. Hydroplanes. You know what I'm saying? You see front wheels spinning. Because that motherfucker Honda Pilot, that bitch got 4-wheel drive. You see the front wheel spinning, back wheel going, agent in front. Pow, pow. You know? Boom. There you go. So, look, I'm making no qualms about it. That's my take on it. It looks to me like these agents are defending themselves. I think it's pretty damn open and shut. You know, anybody that wants to come up is okay to come up and disagree with me. It's all just a matter of opinion, you know, when it comes to that. But hey, I see self-defense. I see a vehicle being used as a weapon. And hey, I don't know how else you're supposed to defend yourself against a vehicle that's being used as a weapon when you're in front of it, you know? That's what that looks like to me. But let's hear what the vice president has to say.
Take some questions, but I want to make just one final observation here. When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way.
What up,
to put
KP?
it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile. What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been.
And I appreciate that, Candy Cane. And let me give a shout out to Candy Cane. You know what I'm saying? Candy Cane Lane. Shout out to you. You definitely was the star of the show last night. Shout out to Candy Cane. You know, did her thing. You know what I'm saying? If y'all didn't catch a DJ Witch Doctor show from last night, you'll definitely see our new up-and-coming star in these spaces, Ms. Candy Cane Lane. Definitely doing her thing over there. You know, stole the show and handled her business, you know, as always. So much respect and best wishes to Candy Cane Lane, growing her brand and her channel. You know, feel free. Add a like, drop the link to your channel in the chat. You are more than welcome to do so.
Working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it possible for the president of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before. And everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis.
Well, look. All right. This is where I would agree. I would agree with JD Vance, and then I will disagree with JD Vance right here. All right. So I showed the footage, and I'll show it again. I agree. This was somebody that was trying to use their car as a weapon right here. Whether intentionally, unintentionally, because somebody brought that up when I was on Taz's channel, what the intent was. Look, when motherfucker running you over with a car about to take your motherfucking left arm off of the rest of your body with that shit, or about to run you over, you don't have time to really determine what the fuck their intent is. You're just going to defend yourself. So, I mean, I can see why. You know, when I'm in front of your car and you put the car in drive, you actually pop that bitch from reverse into drive and proceed to go forward. And that shit obviously got 4-wheel drive. That's why you saw, you know what I'm saying, the front wheel spinning and then the back wheel spin. Yeah. So, hey, she could do that shit. But, so I will agree with that part. Yes, she is using the shit as a weapon. But when you bring up things like what this officer, this agent went through before a few months ago, don't nobody give a fuck about that shit when it comes to this incident right here. That's some isolated shit. So if he's traumatized from the last event, maybe he was supposed to be on administrative leave or psychiatric evaluation, you know what I'm saying, while he was getting the psychiatric evaluation and making sure that his head was straight before he came back to fucking work. Real shit. You got all of that, you know, post-traumatic stress and shit like that. Maybe you shouldn't be wielding firearms. So, hey, that's where I would agree with JD Vance on one part, but I got to disagree on the other. Nobody give a fuck about that damn whatever you went through in the past. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? You were hit by a car, you was dragged by a car before, but that don't give, or 3 or 4 months ago, but that don't give you a right to shoot a motherfucker today. Unless, of course, it was justified. You know? So, I mean, if it's justified, I don't even see a reason to bring that shit up, you know, in this press conference. Doesn't make sense. Just my opinion.
Rammed this guy with
What's
her
up,
car.
3,000 degrees?
He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, when things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863. And I think we may be in that moment now. Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jake?
I give a fuck what Tim Walz got to say. Just my opinion on that, too. What up, Miss K.A.?
Fry and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis.
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's what this new assistant attorney general position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
Vice President, a related question here. I mean, Democrats have accused ICE of murder. They've said they're targeting Americans. They told ICE to get the F out of Minnesota. This is
Man, that shit don't mean shit. They told the damn mayor, Jacob Fry, to get the fuck out of Minnesota. Remember that? They told him to get the fuck out. Okay. So nobody gives a shit.
Stop, y'all. Stop. Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. If y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year?
Loud and clear.
Louder.
I do not support full abolition. All right. Lad, don't waste our time. Get the fuck out of here.
Those are the citizens of Minneapolis telling Jacob Fry, the mayor, to get the fuck out of here about 5 years ago.
America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take bait that these ICE agents are trying to create, and that the federal government, to be clear, wants.
Now, keep in mind, I just showed you a clip of how fed up these people were 5 years ago with this mayor and the Minneapolis police long before ICE even showed the fuck up. Okay, they were pissed. They don't want to deal with this motherfucker anymore. They told him to get the fuck out. So I'm like, bro, if you had been on your damn job, maybe ICE wouldn't have to come in there and do the job for you, or the job of your police force for you. And maybe that woman would still be alive, or definitely that woman would still be alive.
Fire against ICE agents, and you're talking about ICE agents right now, being concerned about them. What, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration. So number one, we have to say, as a matter of leadership, and I would appreciate if the Democrats would join me on this, let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing, to try to make it impossible for them to enforce the law, and in some cases actually to engage in acts of domestic terrorism against our law enforcement officers. When you talk about different plans, different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly how you asked the question. Here's the simple fact. What we're going to do is make it easier for the American People's Administration to enforce the American people's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations. And that means that we are going to get tougher. And that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we're going to do. We've already started that work at the Department of Justice. We're going to keep on doing it. And this new AAG position is going to kick that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out. But here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? You see, just with this most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see friends of this woman's or other people who are eyewitnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn about this? There's an entire network, and frankly, some of the media are participating in it, that is trying to incite violence against our law enforcement officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it. Who's funding it? Who's supporting it, who's cheerleading it, and of course, if there's illegal activity related to that, we're going to get to the bottom of that and prosecute it where we can.
Vice President, thank you for taking questions today. Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these events, when an investigation is just beginning? Are you preempting a thorough investigation by drawing such conclusions? And have you received any information beyond the videos we've seen publicly about this individual, her specific acts, that has informed your point of view?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who is trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left, who has marshaled an entire movement a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have to agree with our immigration policies. You don't have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement, but why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful and it's got to stop.
Just to follow up on that question, and again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota, across the country, over this incident. You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing play out in Minnesota, bring down the temperature as this investigation is unfolding?
What we have a responsibility to do is to protect the people who are enforcing the law and protect the country writ large, whether you're a Democrat.
In my opinion, you can let those ICE agents do their damn job and leave them alone. Exercise your right to peacefully protest, but do it from a safe distance and don't use your car to try to stop them. I think that I think that is a safe remedy.
Or Republican, you deserve to have the people's laws enforced in the United States of America. Now, again, I'm not happy that this woman lost her life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest violating the law by interfering with a law enforcement action. I think that we can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature.
That's all I'm saying, man. I'm like, yo, they want to talk. They're separating families. Hey, law enforcement has been separating families for a long time. Police forces have been militarized in primarily urban communities for a very fucking long time. I want to know where the outrage was for the last damn 40 years that these motherfuckers have been doing this shit. Now you got a problem when there are people that have broken the law just by being over here. Just by being over here, they have broken the fucking law. Let these people do their job. Okay? Let them do their damn job. Exercise your right to peacefully protest, but do that shit peacefully. Because I think most of us American folks understand that, yo, when a cop is doing a job, we have no right to obstruct them when we doing that shit. And if we do that in a way in which this person was doing it, like this, okay? Like I say, one arm in the car. You could have took this motherfucker's arm off. Okay? You still moving. You still moving. You could have took his arm off. Dragged that motherfucker through the goddamn street. Here's another one. In front of your car. Here you done aimed your vehicle at him and you just gonna proceed and keep on fucking going. We already know. Motherfucker gonna open fire. That's what they gonna do. I know if my black ass do that shit, they are going to open fire. Even if they don't, that's what I expect them to do. That's why I ain't gonna do that shit. And I also know there's gonna be a bunch of people that come out after they see the damn footage and they're gonna say that black man should have just complied. He shouldn't have aimed his vehicle at that law enforcement officer and hit the fucking gas. You know? Because I didn't see a weapon drawn until the vehicle was taken out of reverse and put into drive with an ICE agent in front of the hood. So, and that's what I'm saying. You see this motherfucker about to slip, fall, all that shit? Yeah. because he's being dragged. So that's the game.
Temperature. And we're not going to give in to terrorism on this. And that's exactly what's happened. People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence. They throw bricks at them. Sometimes they shoot at them. Sometimes they dox them. Sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And we cannot say that when a far left fringe is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials, that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding the very people who are engaged in this garbage. The actual reward that they just got is a new assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate this stuff even more aggressively than before. Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue, that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life. And that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. I'm sorry, guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next.
That's what I saw, but we can look at it again because, yeah, we just look at it again. That's what I'm saying. I don't see a weapon being drawn until this motherfucker, until that car is no longer in reverse. That bitch is in drive. Like, I mean, yeah. I think somebody tried to bring up the intention. I don't know what the fuck your intention is when you put a car in drive while I'm standing in front of it. But hey, I would assume. I mean, I don't think he's wrong to assume that your intent is to run his ass over. I don't know. I don't know. It's a tragedy, definitely. All right, so that's one law enforcement vehicle right there. Let me take this shit off, put that shit on normal playback.
Past her stopped vehicle.
Like they're somewhat impeding the ICE guys, although you did see the SUV drive around them.
Next, officers exit the car and approach Good's vehicle.
Right out of the gate, it's escalatory in nature. And then the agent with the black mask reaches for the driver's side door handle to try to open it. From the video, like the reverse lights are on.
From this other video,
I'm looking at the reverse lights. Yo.
See that the officer has already crossed in front of the car. He's holding a cell phone.
They're trying to essentially take some sort of recording or photograph of the driver to show or identify her as a antagonist to their enforcement operations. What he does is cross in front of and stay in front of a occupied running vehicle. You should not be intentionally putting yourself in front of a vehicle unless absolutely necessary. And with a cell phone in his left hand, he draws his pistol with his right hand, and in a very quick succession, rattles off 3 rounds.
Under the Department of Homeland Security's use of force policy, firearms may not be discharged solely to disable a moving vehicle, and shooting at a moving vehicle is tightly restricted.
So my
one thing, I mean, I get that, but there's a reason why you have firearms. If that vehicle is being used as a weapon, they're not shooting at the vehicle because it's moving. They're shooting at the vehicle because the vehicle is moving toward him. So I don't know.
Do you have another option other than pulling the trigger?
The Trump administration maintains the agent opened fire to avoid being run over, but the direction of the tires appears to be facing away from the officer to the right. There's still a dispute as to whether the officer was grazed or struck by the Honda. He continues to fire even after moving out of the way of the vehicle.
If she is intentionally trying to hit that agent or officer, those tires are pointed in the opposite direction, and the vehicle's trajectory after the shots would be continuing to the left.
After 3 shots, the car veers away. Oh my God! According to Ballier, both the officer's gunfire and the car accelerating could have put agents and the surrounding crowd of bystanders in danger.
These are all factors that law enforcement officers have to weigh before pulling the trigger.
The video yourself, there's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim, you still believe that she deliberately tried to ram him despite seeing this video.
I don't know if she deliberately tried to ram the motherfucker or not, but she could have. Hey, man, let them people do their job.
Look, I don't know what is in a person's heart or in a person's head, and obviously we're not going to get the chance to ask this woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I'm certain of is that that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious threat for injury or in fact, his life. What I'm certain of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy. I don't know what was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. It raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly. That's what I have an objection to. The idea that this was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President,
Jacket.
down the temperature, it seems like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. Does the administration have plans to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you have any words to unite America?
I know you don't want to be part of the problem, and I think that's true of a lot of you. I'm not sure it's true for everybody, because the reporting over this has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so misrepresented and misreported when you have a guy who was defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing, not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message, following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the situation on the ground, on the streets? What's your message also to those protesters who saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video?
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened. But when you look at all angles of that video, it is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him. And then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I say to the protesters is, by all means, protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis from Tim Walz all down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. We had a wide open border under Joe Biden. I happen to think it's a good thing the President of the United States has closed it down. If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision. Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I guarantee you go to...
I would agree with that. Look, man, them agents have orders. They have orders. You know, let them do their jobs. You know, they have orders. They're pretty clear cut. You know, don't stand in the way of them doing their job. You look, we as Americans, we have the right to peacefully protest. Go ahead and do that, but definitely do not use your vehicles as weapons and try to obstruct justice or obstruct these people from doing their damn job. All right, so I would agree with that part.
There are black people and white people. There are Democrats and Republicans. They are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me, lay off of our ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, look, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least, he looked the other way. I mean, this is not... This is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. This is, we're going to take we're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Leering Center. By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Can you explain the difference between this Associate Attorney General and a special counsel? And do you envision this being a permanent position or having more of a limited scope?
Well, it's going to be permanent until we get to the bottom of what's going on. So I think it's going to last for at least the remainder of the administration. What's different about it from a special counsel is, if you remember, the Jack Smith case where the special counsel was found unconstitutional, one of the big issues there is that that person was not an appointed person, completely aside from all the other issues, that the person was a lunatic and that the case had no merit. There was a fundamental constitutional issue, which is that he had not been appointed by the president and he had not been confirmed by the United States Senate. An assistant attorney general, what that's going to allow us to do is appoint this person, have them confirmed by the Senate. That's one difference. The more substantive difference is that this person is going to be part of a very broad interagency White House that's being led from the President of the United States on down. And that's going to give them the resources, the access to material and information to make this person more effective. I think a lot of people have asked, how are you really going to get to the heart of the fraud? We've been asking ourselves that question for the past couple of months, and we think this is the critical piece at the Department of Justice to really ramp this fraud investigation into high gear. In the red tie, yeah.
Vice President Vance, I wanted to ask, what's your message to far leftist agitators who feel emboldened to obstruct ICE activity in Minnesota and around the country?
Well, I think they shouldn't feel emboldened because now they have an assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate their fraud and their violence more aggressively than it has ever been investigated in the United States of America. We are doing so much to try to find the financing networks and the domestic terrorism networks that legitimate this violence, that fund this violence, and that, of course, engage in the violence. These people should not feel emboldened because they have, for the first time, maybe in American history, an administration that is not going to tolerate political violence of any kind from anywhere. Yeah.
We not clear today that the entire weight of the federal government is behind these ICE agents and this ICE agent in particular. There is still a federal investigation happening on the ground. Does that mean that they are not looking into this ICE agent at all? They are just focused on the woman who's in the car? What is the investigation if the federal government has already determined that its weight is behind this ICE investigation?
So what do you mean? When you say investigation, do you mean investigation of the shooting yesterday or of the fraud that's happening in Minneapolis?
Yesterday.
Okay, look, DHS, as I understand it, has an investigation already ongoing. I know that other organs of our government are looking at this. So yes, there's certainly an investigation that's happening right now. But as part of the broader fraud investigation, a lot of what we're doing with the Department of Justice has already started. We've got over 1,500 subpoenas. We've got people this morning, actually, we're going door to door to actually knock on some of these fraudulent care centers, these fraudulent social services organizations to get to the bottom of what's going on there. So the investigation in some ways has already been ramping up into the anti-fraud element for at least a few weeks. What we're trying to do is supercharge it and make sure there's a designated person within the Department of Justice who completely controls that particular focus.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Vice President, on the agent, is he still on duty or has he been placed on leave, on administrative leave? And what really was the target of the operation on Wednesday? Of the ICE operation on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, it was a legitimate law enforcement operation. We were going door to door to try to find criminal illegal aliens and deport them from the United States of America, because if you come to our country illegally in violation of our immigration laws, then we have the mandate, and in fact, we have the legal duty to enforce those immigration laws. Whether he's been placed on administrative leave, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd refer it to the Department of Homeland Security, and they can follow up. I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time, it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude. And I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen from the American media. Yeah.
Vice President, what is your specific role in the future of Venezuela? And I'm wondering, could you confirm reports that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was kept out of the planning for the operations because of her past concerns about military involvement in Venezuela?
So I've heard a couple of things. One, that I was kept out of the planning for the Venezuela operation. That's false. And another, that Tulsi was kept out of the planning for Venezuela operations. That's completely false. Look, we're all part of the same team. And one of the things that is really amazing about that operation is that we kept it very tight to the senior cabinet level officials and related officials in our government. And we kept this operation secret for a very long time. I'm very proud of that. I think it suggests that the team works very well together. Well, looking ahead, what is my role? Look, my role is going to be whatever the president asks me to do. Well, every other day, I'm chairing the meeting that we do on this among White House principals to talk about next steps to try to ensure that Venezuela is stable. And as the president has directed us to do, to ensure that the new Venezuelan government actually listens to the United States and does what the United States needs it to do under our country's best interest. So I'm going to be as involved as the president wants me to be. So far, that's been very involved, and I'll keep on doing that so long as the president asks me to do it.
Yes.
Even beyond the war powers resolution.
We'll go purple, and then we'll go pink or whatever that is in front.
Royal purple, and then beige. All right.
Okay.
Are there any indications, you talked about the network, are there any indications that the lady who was shot, I know there are different reports from there, her wife said they were new to the area. Are there any indications she may have been a paid agitator, and maybe that there are others that were brought to the area, considering everything that's going on in Minneapolis?
I wouldn't say that she was paid. I don't have the evidence to say that one way or the other. What I do know is that she was violating the law. And if you just look at the eyewitness accounts, they were saying she was there to prevent the enforcement of the law. She was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. That much is obviously clear. The rest of it, of course, is part of the reason why we investigate this stuff. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President, even beyond the war powers resolution today, Congress has bucked President Trump on issues like tariffs. Are you concerned that President Trump is losing his grip on Republicans and the Congress, and what are you going to do about it?
No, I'm not concerned at all. First of all, we talked to some of the senators who are going to vote the wrong way, in my view, on this resolution today. Much of their argument was based more on a legal technicality than any disagreement in policy. If you look at the people who actually voted, every single one of them have supported the administration's plan. Second of all, as the president, I believe himself, has already said, every president, Democrat or Republican, believes the War Powers Act is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law. It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, and that'll continue to be how we approach things. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, President. So we are seeing, regarding Iran, we are seeing the protests in Iran these days. The citizens are begging for help from the U.S. and Israel, naming streets in the city after President Trump. It seems there is an opportunity here that may not come again. Will the United States sensed by the citizens of Iran? And if Israel decides to strike again the nuclear sites in Iran, is the U.S. expected to take part?
Well, look, we certainly stand by anybody who's engaged in peaceful protests, anybody who's trying to exert their rights for free association and to have their voices heard. Obviously, the Iranian regime has a lot of problems. And as the President of the United States has said, the smartest thing for them to have done, it was true 2 months ago, it's true today, is for them to actually have a real negotiation with the United States about what we need to see when it comes to their nuclear program. I'll let the president speak to what we're going to do in the future, but we certainly stand with anybody across the world, including the Iranian people who are advocating for their rights. I'll take just a couple more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Concerning Venezuela, how would you assure the Caribbean region that they will remain a zone of peace? Because some member states in the region are concerned.
Well, look, the president had a very productive phone call with the president of Colombia yesterday, and we continue to talk at all levels of government with a number of our friends in the Caribbean region. I actually think this is really good for peace in the Caribbean, because when you take away a major source of illegal cartel revenue, which is the cocaine trade, the fentanyl trade, other sources of illicit revenue, you actually remove the power of one of the main destabilizing forces in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I really do think, look, we say it all the time, this is the president of peace. One of the ways that you establish peace in your own hemisphere is to make it clear that the United States is going to be respected, that the United States is willing to take power away from criminal cartel organizations and give it to legitimate governments. That's how we see the future of the Western Hemisphere, and we think it's going to be much more peaceful than it was certainly under Joe Biden. I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. On Greenland, do you have a message for European leaders? Many in Europe reject the idea that the island could be for sale.
Well, first of all, Secretary Rubio, I believe, is meeting with the leaders of Denmark and Greenland next week, I want to say it is, but maybe it's the week after that. We'll continue to deliver some of these messages in private, some of them in public. But I guess my advice to European leaders and anybody else would be to take the president of the United States seriously. What has he said about Greenland? Set to the side the crazy overreactions that I've seen from the press and from certain people in Europe. What has the president said? Number one, Greenland is really important, not just to America's missile defense, but to the world's missile defense. Number two, we know that there are hostile adversaries that have shown a lot of interest in that particular territory, that particular slice of the world. So what we're asking our European friends to do is to take the security of that landmass more seriously, because if they're not, the United States is going to have to do something about it. What that is, I'll leave that to the president as we continue to engage in diplomacy with our European friends and everybody on this particular.
Killed in Minneapolis by an ICE agent. Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. She was listening to the briefing. Also, our immigration reporter, Armando Garcia, was listening as well. He's still there on the ground in Minneapolis. And I know our Rachel Scott, Mary, who covers the White House along with you, is there in the briefing room. She had some great questions for the vice president. We're going to bring her up and into this conversation once she gets all mic'd up. But Mary, let's start with you. I mean, immediately, J.D. Vance is hammering on the media and saying we're creating this narrative and not being responsible. But I think from the very beginning, we were being very responsible in laying out that, you know, you're hearing one story from law enforcement and local officials in Minneapolis, and then you're hearing another story from the federal government. So a lot of conclusions being drawn on behalf of the vice president, and also labeling this woman who lost her life as a deranged leftist agitator, a part of a broader left-wing network. So just let's kind of stick to fact here and how we move forward in talking about this story.
Yeah, let's stick to the facts, Kira, and let's unpack some of what J.D. Vance just came out and said.
Hey, I'm gonna keep saying I don't know what the fuck she was. I know she went too damn far with that damn vehicle. I can tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? You got an ICE agent in front of your fucking car. It's probably not best to put the shit in drive. I'm just saying.
he very forcefully came out and was scolding the press and accusing the media of being quick to draw conclusions about what happened in Minnesota, while he himself was drawing very strong conclusions. He came out and accused the woman who was killed yesterday baselessly of being part of a, quote, radical left-wing network that uses, in his words, terror techniques. He insisted that she was trying to ram the officer, that the officer in question was simply acting in self-defense. And that may be true. The point is, there's an investigation ongoing. And what is so shocking about, I think, the response to all of this is that the administration has come out and been very quick to pass judgment and draw a conclusion on what happened yesterday. You just heard the vice president come out and say, what you see is what you get. Well, many people have seen that video and have walked away with a different impression. That is why we have investigations. That is why you let officials come in, pour over the video, talk to eyewitnesses, and do their job on the ground. And it is why traditionally, after an incident like this, you would have the administration, come out and urge patience and caution and ask everyone to sort of wait for the conclusions of that investigation. That is not what we have seen from officials, from the vice president, from the president, from Kristi Noem, from on down. You have heard them come out and very quickly defend the officer and insist that he was acting in self-defense. Again, we don't know because we are waiting for the conclusions of this investigation. But quite a tone there from the vice president in the briefing room just now, coming out and adamantly, defending the administration's position.
Yep. And Mary, great points. Rachel Scott, just to follow up on what Mary said, you took that question directly to the vice president about tone and about rhetoric. Very fair question. And again, his answer was quite defensive.
Yeah, the vice president, initially just came out here, as Mary had mentioned, and immediately started talking to the media about the coverage of this. And he sounded very defensive before he even started taking questions. By the time that he got to me, I did ask him about the tensions that we are seeing play out there in Minnesota. We are seeing clashes with law enforcement there on the ground and officials there on the ground. And then we heard from the vice president and the media.
Which I just showed everybody that shit is not new. Right, the people of Minnesota, Minneapolis especially, have been pissed off with law enforcement there ever since George Floyd. And before that, they've been sick of that shit. They fed up with the goddamn mayor, even though they reelected his ass anyway. All right, which is why ICE is out there right now. So I mean, in my opinion, and I'm about to get up out of here. I'll probably be back up, on some late night shit because I've been a little bit busy today and I'm kind of working on a project right now. But this is my take on it. All of this stuff that you see from ICE in all of these cities, and what you see a lot of people either pissed off with or protesting about, it's all a function and a product of like your local officials dropping the ball for years. For years. All right. Whether you are an advocate of ICE and what this current administration is doing, or even if you're against it, chances are, if they're in your city, it's because your city is fucked up. So you're gonna have to ask people why the fuck that is. Because where I'm at, I'm pretty sure, man, it's a lot of immigrants over here. All right, I'm in Palm Beach County, Florida. It's a lot of them, and I'm sure a lot of them are illegal. I don't be seeing ICE. I don't hear shit about that shit getting protested, at least not out here. Not to the point where people are getting blasted on. And I just pulled up this stuff from Minnesota which we can go back to it again if you guys didn't see it. This is from 5 years ago now. 5 years ago. This is Mayor Jacob Fry, who's still the mayor today.
Mister Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. He's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year? Louder.
Loud and clear.
Louder.
Yeah.
I do not support full abolition.
All right. Loud. Don't waste our time. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. Go home, Jacob. Go home. Go home, Jacob. Go home. Go home, Jacob. Go home.
All right.
Go home, Jacob. Go home.
They wasn't trying to hear that man shit 5 years ago. Now this is your same mayor like today.
Justice and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
All right. So that's my point. The citizens in Minneapolis, according to them and what I just pulled up from 5 years ago, they said law enforcement been blasting them and shooting them in the streets since long before ICE showed up, and now they're doing it now too. Okay? But one thing that's been consistent is this motherfucker in charge. So that's what I'm saying. This is an indictment on your local officials. This shit's still fucked up. Maybe if you're doing your job, ICE won't have to come in there and do their fucking job. Maybe if your police were doing their job, your ICE wouldn't have to come in there and clean that shit up. Or try to. Maybe if you were preaching all that unity shit and actually carrying that shit out, okay, it wouldn't be so many dead motherfuckers or deleted motherfuckers in Minneapolis. When policemen and women and federal agents, ICE agents, Homeland Security, everybody go in there to do their job, somebody end up getting fucking clapped, blasted. I'm just saying, this is nothing new. What up, Either Man? So, on that note, I'm about to get up out of here. I'll be scheduling some more streams. You know, some members-only content will be coming up pretty soon. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate everybody being patient. Got a lot of stuff to do. Kind of coming down. We got collaborations coming. You know, new platforms we'll be moving over to. We want to wish Just My 5 Cents a happy, healthy, get well soon. That's one of the reasons why you haven't seen us for body camera breakdowns and reactions. We do have content footage kind of queued up, but Just My 5 Cents is a little under the weather, so she might be in the clouds. Just if you're listening, we love you, Just My 5. Get well soon. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get up with you, but in the meantime, just get you some rest, get well soon when it comes to that. On that note, pleasure hanging with everybody. That's just my take on it. Right here, I think American citizens should just stay out of what the fuck is going on with ICE. It's pretty fucked up. And definitely don't use your car, as a weapon. And I mean, if you have an ICE agent standing in front of your hood, whether their toaster is drawn or not, don't put the car in drive and hit the gas. It's not smart. It's just not smart. But it's definitely tragic. We don't want to see loss of life, not from American citizens, not from, immigrants, illegal, legal, whatever the case may be. I'd like to see no loss of life, even when these agents are doing their job. You don't want to see anybody get hurt. It's pretty fucked up, and it really shouldn't get to that point. So, anybody that's advocating, for violence or doing anything other than the peaceful type of protesting, hey, that's a serious damn issue. That's a serious issue. Let these people do their job. You do have a right to protest, but protest peacefully. None of this stuff has to happen. It shouldn't happen. There's going to be an investigation when it comes to that. I hope they review it, come to whatever the fuck conclusion they come to. But I'd like to know where all of this outrage was, because just like this mayor is saying, hey, families are being separated. ICE is in there taking motherfuckers to jail. Hey, man, y'all been doing that shit for a long time now. For the last 40 years, law enforcement been separating motherfucking families, taking motherfuckers away, blasting motherfuckers in the goddamn street. Brutal with it, too. Brutal with it, too. Where was the outrage then? I'm sorry, I don't have no outrage now. Hey, I got faith in the judicial system to handle their business. What up, Chris Reed, man? Appreciate that $5 ball. People just fighting for their workforce. ICE is taking the workforce away, and they're willing to die for it. The American people. Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. I don't, to be honest, I don't know what I think a lot of people don't know what the hell they're fighting for when they're fighting this shit. Because I mean, it just like this dude said, this mayor said, like, hey, they claim that they're fighting for you know, families being broken up and all of this chaos and confusion and shit like that. I'm like, the fuck out of here. This shit been going on for 40 fucking years. Like 40 almost 50 years now. With wars on drugs, crime bills, militarized police force, mass incarceration, all of that shit. All types of acts of police brutality, racial profiling, all of that shit been going on right in Minneapolis too. I ain't see no protests and all this damn outrage. Until motherfuckers started getting this shit on camera and video. Till George Floyd and shit. So in this case, I'm like, you getting folks that aren't even citizens, and now you got ICE rounding them up to deport them. I personally could care less. Like, I'm indifferent to that shit. So when I hear that American citizens are taking live ammunition to the dome for this shit, but hey, weren't no American citizens taking live ammunition to the dome when actual American citizens were the victims of this shit? And a lot of these urban areas, a lot of them still are. Like there's a lot that still are. Like I say, militarized police forces, you know, all types of skewed laws and shit. Skewed laws, fucked up sentences, all of that. That's what I'm saying. When black folks bared the brunt of this shit, I ain't hear nobody saying shit. They were in favor of keeping the community safe. You give a fuck. You give the cops tanks, semi-automatic weapons, you know what I'm saying, and just fund them and make them the most well-organized gang that you possibly could. No, and allow prisons to be privatized, contribute to mass incarceration and all of that shit. And motherfuckers getting clapped all in the streets and shit by cops. Wasn't no outrage. So I'm sorry that woman lost her life and everything else, man. I'm sorry. But hey, just like I'm gonna let the ICE agents do their job, I'll let the federal prosecutors and shit do their job too. Whatever, that's not my issue. Shout out to Jill's Comfort Zone. You know, but what I saw when I saw this video right here, when I saw this video right here, hey, I see somebody using their car as a weapon. That's it. I see some agents defending themselves, man. I'm sorry about that, but hey, I'm not a prosecutor, and I doubt I'll be a juror or any of that shit in this. I just got an opinion. I'm just a dude with eyes and an opinion. That's it. But I would recommend, man, folks, especially if you're an American citizen, don't be jumping in front of live ammunition to stop these people from doing their job. They're going to continue to still do their job anyway. You know, you have a right to peacefully protest, but hey, running motherfuckers over with your car is not peaceful protest. That's just my take on it. Like I say, I don't think these people know what the fuck they're protesting. I think there's a lot of folks that just don't want to accept that the 2024 election actually happened and the shit's over. Like, it's over now. And I'm like, I just be asking people, like, how young are y'all? Like, I remember going through 8 years of fucking George W. Bush. Like, the fuck? Who the fuck was sitting on a goddamn corner protesting George W. Bush every day for 8 years? I ain't got time for this shit. Like, for real. Holler at me in 2028, the end of 2027, when this shit over, if it's that big of a deal. Like, they protesting, or it's like motherfuckers is still campaigning a damn election that's over. That's it. Like Trump or not, that man said, he said what the fuck he was gonna do. He got elected, and he's doing what he said he was gonna do. Had the dude not won, this shit probably wouldn't be happening. But he did win. So next time, hey man, make sure whoever it was you voted for wins. I don't know, or hope that shit is the case. But sitting there protesting every little thing, every damn decision that gets made and shit, this is what it leads to. It leads to, loss of life and a lot just more frustration and people getting triggered and shit like that. Just accept that shit. Like, this is America. We've always been supposed to have this peaceful transition, and that's it. Motherfucker gonna get 4 years, they're gonna get 8 years, or whatever. Like, that shit happens. So right now we're about a year and a half into a 4-year term. That's it. You got about 2.5 years left. I don't see what the big deal is. 2.5, almost 3 years left. So, whatever. We'll deal with it. Fuck it. Deal with it. She lost her life over ICE, and no one was there to help George Floyd. Nah, nobody was there to help George Floyd. Nobody was there to help Michael Brown. Nobody was there to help Eric Garner. Like, nobody was there to help a lot of motherfuckers that got fatally fucked up at the hands of law enforcement. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of people that said, hey, those cops were just doing their job. So right here, hey, I guess the ICE agents were just doing their job. I'm indifferent to it, man. I don't see it as right or wrong. I mean, just my opinion by looking at the tape. It looks like self-defense. Looks like a clear-cut case of self-defense to me. I saw an ICE agent with his hand in the window. I'll show you again. I saw one with his hand in the window and another one in front of the car. And in both cases, or one with their hand on the door and another arm in the window, another one with it standing in front of the car, and the vehicle was put in the drive, which makes it a fucking weapon. That's it. Look. That's it. That man could have lost his arm right there. They telling you, get out of the car, stop the car, whatever. You ain't doing that shit. Hands on the car. That's why this dude's about to get drugged. You know what I'm saying? He can't even see, he's slipping, falling and shit like that because the momentum of the car is carrying him. And then the other agent is in front of the car. Yeah, you could be trying to go right. I don't know what the hell your intent is. It is what it is. Hey, was there another option other than lethal force? Maybe. I don't fucking know. But that's the option he chose to use. That still does not negate the fact that that shit's self-defense. So whatever. But I'm not a lawyer. No. But no, on that note, man, I'm about to get all the way up out of here. Well, not all the way up out of here. I'll be back probably a little later, maybe even early in the morning. We'll get some more topics going. Friday, definitely going to be fun. Yeah, it was a wild one, Jill. It was a wild one. And I know there are a lot of folks that are going to have, different conflicting opinions with that. And that's cool. I'm indifferent to it because it's fucking ICE. Like, I don't know what the hell that shit got to do with me. I was born at Wood Hill Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. I ain't really worried about that shit. Like, for real. Really not. I have a damn thing to do with me. If I commit some kind of crime or something, they will. Hey, I do not pass go. I do not collect $200. They taking my ass straight to jail. I don't have to worry about getting deported. That shit is not my issue. I'll be glad to bring it up again. That's what happened. No. Cop with the circle around him is the one that blasted. Got one cop with his hand in the car, the other one in front of the car. When the car gets put into drive, hey, it becomes a weapon. That's my opinion on it. So is there a better way to handle it? Probably, but that's the way that shit got handled. So, hey, that's my take on it. I know some people were like, "Hey, the cop should have just moved out the way and let them." I'm like, "Look, this is not a high speed chase situation where it's like, yo, don't follow them or some shit like that. If the car is being used as a weapon, I don't know what branch of law enforcement isn't able to defend themselves against someone that's using a weapon. And since when do law enforcement agents have a duty to retreat?" Oh, so that's what that is. But it's a shame that woman had to die. I hear she's a mother of 3. She's a mother of 3, and she's also she's in a alternative lifestyle relationship. She's married to a woman, so she got family, loved ones, and they lost a loved one. So that's a shame that had to happen over a situation like that. Definitely a shame that it has to go that far. But that's why I say, look, we Americans, we got the right to peacefully protest. I wish more people would just do that. Protest and protest peacefully. Don't be out in the street. Don't be using your car as a damn weapon. You know what I'm saying? If you got agents in front of your car, don't hit drive. Don't hit drive. Because they might just blast your ass. Like that's and it really doesn't matter who's at fault and who's not. When a life is lost, there's no bringing it back. There's no bringing it back, regardless of who ends up doing time. You give somebody 40, 50 years, you give somebody 450 fucking years in jail. Once somebody's gone, no jail sentence, no amount of protesting and shit's gonna bring that shit back. It's gonna bring that person back. So situations like that are just better off avoided. Avoided. And I think the best way to avoid that is just to let these people do their job, whether you agree with the job that they have to do or not. It doesn't matter. Let them do their job. Let them do their job. And people have orders. Stay out of their fucking way. Let them do their job. Peacefully protest, because that is your right, as an American, to do so. Don't have a problem. I have no problem with that. Peacefully protest, but do not obstruct these people from doing their fucking job. Because they got a job to do. And they armed for a reason. What up, Drip? Salute. He said, yeah, just like that black kid that lost his life on that train, because he was saying he's ready to go. So the soldier put it in his hands to take it. Yeah, that was wild. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the case where they found out that kid had some mental, mental issues too. And that was a shame too. So like I say, man, these people have a job to do. And again, that's why I brought up, the scene from 5 years ago in Minneapolis. I'll bring that shit back up one more time. And now I'm kind of rambling, but still.
Our community, shooting us down, toting around in our clear. We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department? All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election.
re-election next year. You're not up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year? Louder, one more time.
Loud and clear.
Louder.
Yeah.
I do not support full abolition.
All right. Loud. Don't waste our time. Put that.
Okay, so that and you would think that shit was today. No, that shit is from 5 years ago. That's from 5 years ago. That's the mayor of Minneapolis. This is from today.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
All right, and I'm gonna leave that shit right there. Okay, that is today. So you just saw how the residents of Minneapolis felt about that motherfucker 5 years ago. They wanted him the fuck up out of there. They said he was the issue, and the police force was the issue. They said families were being ripped apart then. So I'm gonna keep saying that. Maybe if these mayors, politicians, police chiefs, and shit were doing their job, there wouldn't be a need for ICE in these fucking cities. Because people had issues with these damn cops and the way shit was being done in these cities long before ICE came around. You know, today that man said told ICE get the fuck out of here. 5 years ago, the citizens in Minneapolis told you to get the fuck out of there. What's up, Just My Five? No, that was what you just saw. That wasn't from when you saw those people outside. That wasn't today. That was from 5 years ago, and I think it was summertime. It was summertime. That was from 5 years ago. 5 years ago when they made the same mayor take the walk of shame because he didn't want to defund and abolish the police in Minneapolis. So those people have had issues with law enforcement for a long time. Look, I'm going to show it to y'all. All right, so you see that? That walk of shame video? That's from 5 years ago. 5 years ago. And what I just showed you, that shit from today. January the 7th. Okay? Same mayor, same bullshit. Somebody dead. So maybe if your police were doing their job, there'd be a few more people still alive out there. So whether you agree with ICE or not, or what the fuck they're doing, I think we can all agree that these motherfuckers are dropping the damn ball. And have been for a long damn time. Just my take on it. You know, just my take on it. You know? But on that note, I'm about to get out of here for this one. It was definitely fun, you know, breaking this down. It is a shame though that that woman lost her life. Just, you know, over some shit that should have been peaceful. You know? Damn shame. But yeah, on that note, man, y'all have a good night. I'm out of here. Y'all make sure like the stream, share the stream, support the stream through Cash App, Super Chat, Super Thanks. You know, if you're catching the replay, I appreciate all of y'all coming through. You know what I'm saying? Checking this out with me. I might be back later. You know, it'll be fun either way. You know what I'm saying? We'll get everything going, get up with some mess, you know, see what else is going on around these streets. Y'all have a wonderful night.